Alright, this is going to be a more of a lesson video that I'm going to be doing today. This is going to be decision making. Alright, so this is a Protoss versus Protoss game on Metropolis, which I don't really like as a map. It's okay, it's grown on me a little bit more, but it's still not my favorite. I go for 12 gate. I'm just skipping through the early game because this part doesn't matter very much. I do a little bit of probe harass. Manage to kill one of his. He decides to gas block me. So this is. I'm going to be going through this a bit quicker. So this is the first decision point of the game. Right now, I have a decent amount of probes. I think, no, I don't quite have more than. I do have more than him if I count this, but right now I am in a position where he's going to be able to get gas a lot faster than me. I went for Stalker first, so that's not the greatest of openings in terms of dealing with this kind of gas steal. You want to have a very fast Zealot to kill the assimilator, but there's not much I can do to kill this. I'm going to be way behind in gas if I try to play it up straight, and so he's going to end up with a huge advantage going into the mid-game. As you see, he takes his gas already. He managed to kill my scouting probe, so I don't even know if he's going for an aggressive opening. So instead, I decide, okay, I'm not going to be able to kill him normally, so I'm going to be going for an expansion. So this is my first decision. I'm going to try and get an expansion. You'll notice that I'm scouting around with my stalker here because I want to make sure he doesn't have anything. So now he's got this probe coming back, and this is just the worst timing for me. This probe just barely manages to see my expansion here. So now I know he knows that I've got an expansion up, so he can do some just standard pressure, take it down. So I cancel this immediately and throw down 3 gateways, because right now I'm in a very nasty position. I've got to do some kind of counterattack. So this is the second part of decision making. First, I decide to go for a high economy build and bank on the fact that generally players try to 4-gate in this position. And then the second thing I did was I switched into a very high aggression build to try and take advantage of his presumable light aggression that would be coming in. Unfortunately, he manages to get my probe, my proxying probe, which means that I can't put down a proxy pile anymore. I immediately send out another one, but still, I'm a little bit farther behind than I would like. So now I'm in this awkward position where I don't have a proxy pylon down, my warp gates are coming online, so I'm just going to have to warp in more units at home and try and press from here. And meanwhile, he's got his own 3-gate coming out. In case it wasn't obvious, 4-gate beats 3-gate when they're out in an open field, but on the defensive, the 3-gate beats the 4-gate because you can get sentries to force field off the ramp and then transition into some better tech. Meanwhile, he's got this very scary force moving in. He manages to, unfortunately, catch these units out of position. So I managed to not quite snipe one of his stalkers. He's got a large army here, though, and my army is split. So I decide that the only thing I can do from this point is I quickly cancel a gas and a couple of probes that I had building, and I start warping in more stalkers. So at this point, I decide the only thing I can do is a base trade. So now he tries to warp in some zealots to block me. I manage to get a very nice position here, where I manage to take out all of his units essentially for free, and so he gets very much slowed down. And so now I try to attack with my probes. This was a bad decision. What I should have done is try to, well, I managed to get one, but I should have sent these over to his base to help them, or to help me kill his buildings. And then I could have engaged later on with all of my probes and stalkers at the same time. So right now he's got 3 more stalkers warping in. I actually just barely managed to catch that by seeing his warp gates activate. And so now my decision is I have to try to take down just all of his buildings as quickly as possible and try to somehow win a base race scenario. So right now, I'm building an assimilator across the map here. This means that suddenly I have three areas, or sort of three areas, where my buildings are located. I have my base, I have over here on the kind of the center of the map area on the way to his base, and I have one just way over here, out of the way. And this is an important decision here, because what it means is that my opponent will struggle to get to all these areas at once. Assimilators are very good for this purpose, by the way, because if you look at the assimilator, it's got 900 HP. A pylon, for comparison, has 400 HP, and pylons cost 25 more minerals. So if you're ever in this kind of scenario, build assimilators, or extractors, or refineries. Assimilators are the best, though, because of the way Protoss building works. So now I managed to kill these last remaining things in his base, and he decides, I'm being revealed right now. If we look at his vision, he can see that I have an assimilator, two pylons, and he decides that he wants to sit back and defend. And this is very important. I managed to scout it. I was sending a probe over to build an assimilator over here because the two farthest away locations on the map, aside from like here and here, are here and here. I already have an assimilator here, so if I build one here, suddenly he's got to go all the way across the map in order to take it out. And meanwhile, I can also see him. If we look at this, I know that he's only got this one building here. We were being revealed because both of us had lost our nexuses, either works. And so now I know that that he's going to be trying to defend this and stall out. So I know that he's got I thought he had two sentries actually, but I knew that he had sentries and stalkers, and that I had actually managed to count his stalkers beforehand, and I knew that he had more than me. I have only 8 while he has 9. So I move out to this watchtower to see if he's trying to do some kind of move in to kill my stuff. But okay, I'm actually going to pause the game right here because this is an important decision moment. I'm moving out here to see if he's just going to be holding this defensive position. It turns out he is. If he was going to move out, he would have done so already. So now this is the most important decision. I'm pretty sure that he would not have gotten a very clear read on how many stalkers I had, or at least I hope he doesn't. So I decide I'm going to take 2 stalkers and move them around to see if I can lure these forward and then move in to get the kill. So if we resume the game, because I know that I'm not going to be able to beat him in a straight up fight, because the sentry using Guardian Shield and a couple of force fields to break up my stalkers means he'll be able to get such a huge advantage over me that it's just unreasonable. So I split off 2 stalkers, not a huge amount. 2 stalkers will kill a pylon fast enough, but they won't kill it so fast that it'll be, or they won't, it won't reduce the main size of my force by so much that it's obvious to him. So now I start these guys working in on this destructible debris back here, because I thought that he had his forces like right over here. But at any rate, this will allow me to get stalkers into a position where they shouldn't be. Now we start talking a little. He's trying to get me to leave the game because he's kind of a dick. And he's a dick or he's an idiot or both. And it turns out after the game he thought that I was like some kind of morally objectionable person for cheesing, which was doing a reactive forgate to his gas block. In other words, he's being kind of stupid, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So okay, this is the important part, because at this point the game had entered the countdown timer for auto draw, which means that if I don't, I'll just switch to my view for this, which means that if I don't end the game, or yes, see, if we look up in the upper right hand corner, we see it'll end in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so I need to do my attack pretty much now. So I move in at the same time, I tell everything just to go and attack this pylon. So first of all, he whiffs his force fields. That's the first thing. But then I managed to get in close enough to start attacking the pylon. I just ignore all of his units because I know I'm not going to win a straight up fight, so what I need to do is go for the throat. He has one building left. When that building dies, he loses. I've got 4 buildings left. I've got some time. Worst case scenario, I could always just run, dodge around with these stalkers and wait for another draw. Um, but I decide to go for the kill because I'm pretty sure I can win this. He manages to kill almost all of my stalkers, but it just isn't enough, and he ends up losing the game. This is an example of decision making. If we compare our decisions towards the early, the middle, and the end of the game, his decisions were to try to force me into some kind of suboptimal play so he could then gain the advantage, and my response to that was to take wild actions completely out of what he was expecting in order to get a win. So this is not going to be a very practical example, but I hope this can get across the idea. Ooh, these distortions look that's pretty cool. I hope it can get across the idea that what you need to do when you're in an odd situation is in an odd situation, especially a situation where you're disadvantaged, the most important thing in any game is to do what they aren't expecting, because then it's only then that you have a chance to win. And so that's how I managed to pull out this game where things kept on going against me, pull it out, and come out with a win. I hope you enjoyed watching. That's all for right now.